WICU and its partners are proud to bring you Erie's Greatest Generation Remembers.
During this short time, 3 men jumped from the waist gun window. 2 chutes opened, but the third not observed. A 4th chute was believed to have emerged from the forward part of the plane, but was unconfirmed, and that was my dad. It's interesting because for the 4 or 5 years before he died, he became obsessed with writing down his story. The ship then went into a spin from 11,000 feet and exploded some 5,000 feet above the ground. He went into the Army Air Corps. He became a 2nd lieutenant, co-pilot of a B-26, had a really bad reputation. It was called the Widowmaker. They didn't fly well, and so there were a lot of planes that came down. Dad flew out of England, like most of them did, and went over France, Brittany area, was shot down over France. There were 8 people in the plane. 3 of them survived. The plane was on fire from its belly, where they could have come out. Instead, he had to come out the top, where the pilots were, over the top. And in the course of doing that, his foot was cut by the propeller, the plane, and then the plane exploded and threw him off. He didn't realize that his foot had been cut partly, but when he landed, he passed out. Germans picked him up. A German doctor sewed his foot back on, which is amazing. When he was picked up, he was put in a hospital for POWs. It is amazing to me in his story how many people intervened to save his life. Some of them were German. The German doctor saved his life. There were at least 2 German guards who protected him in some way or another. First of all, because he had his foot the way it was, for a long time he had to be carried from one place to the other, and it was like he was on a long march. And my dad and a lot of prisoners had to be moved from one place to the other. And because he couldn't walk, a lot of times people had to carry him. He had crutches at one point, but even with the crutches, it was really, he could have died, but the other prisoners wouldn't let him die. They would help him. If he fell, they picked him up. Cuckoo, wo bist du? Cuckoo, where are you? The answer should come back from them in the same shrill, falsetto, sing-song manner. He stood before them like a choir leader before his ensemble and raised his bony finger to lead them in their performance. This is talking about a German guard who was talking to the prisoners in the hospital. And it was kind of a game that he would play. It's amazing to me how skewed humanity is in a war. And this kind of humor, this bizarre humor that would go on in war. What we have to remember is that everyone is a human. It's just that war skews the reality of what we do. He was in Meiningen Stalag Luft 3, which was actually in Silesia, which is now Poland, I believe. And that's where the Great Escape occurred. He came in a week after the Great Escape occurred. And then he was put on a train, and the train went through various places. One of them was Nuremberg, Munich, and he went through Dachau. The soldiers were put in enclosed boxcars. The people going to Dachau were in cattle cars with slats. And when the train came through and it was parked right next to a cattle car situation, and sticking out of the slats were these skeletal hands looking for food. And the American soldiers saw this, and despite the fact that the German guards were there, they jumped out of the boxcars and started handing them whatever food they had. Most of the people who died were Jewish, but there were other people who died. There were gypsies died, and there were people who were dissenters and gay people. And one of my dad's acquaintances was handing food to somebody, and someone had something in his hand, and instead of taking the food, he dropped it into the hand of the person who was giving him the food. It was a crucifix. Then my dad's train left and went to a place called Moosburg, which is where he was liberated. Interestingly, my stepfather, Paul Rada, was in the Liberation Army, and they came through Dachau, and that train was still there with dead bodies. It had never been moved. The people were never taken out. Those folks were, responding to the ghosts of their memories. My dad, at one point, told me that he didn't think that God would forgive him for killing people in the war. And so for most of his life, he suffered from a feeling of tremendous guilt. One of the reasons he didn't forgive himself was for killing people in the war was because when he was a POW, he was under the bombs. He was in Cologne when Cologne was being bombed. Cologne was bombed a lot, but at one point he was there in Cologne while the bombs were being dropped. He saw a lot of death and a lot of destruction. Our generations have a responsibility to those people. It's a random thing whether you live or die. My husband, who was in Vietnam, turned his head and a bullet slid by his ear. If he hadn't turned his head, he would have been dead. When you think about that, we can't take our lives for granted, because not one of us in our line of ancestry has avoided that circumstance in some way, shape, or form. Just, we are a miracle of survival, each one of us. Because all it would take was 4 generations back that one of our line of ancestry died instead, and then we wouldn't be here.
I was the oldest of 4 boys. My mother died when I was 12, and my youngest brother was not quite 4 years old. And 4 years and 4 months later, he died. So I was 16 years old when my dad died, just a couple of months shy of being my 17th birthday. I had quit school between my junior and senior year to become the breadwinner for the household. But we kept house. I worked in the machine shop, the National Erie, which was just a block away from where we lived. We lived on 17th and Plum in Little Italy. One time, one of my friends says, "Charlie, it's got to be tough with no mother and no father." And I said, "Don't worry about no mother. I got 3,000 of them." I says, all of the mothers, all of the families here in Little Italy, they all know our situation. They say, "How's it going? What's happening? Is there anything we can do to help you?" or something of that nature. I kept thinking about, I would like to go in, want to do my part, and talk with the respective godparents of each of my brothers, and asked if they would consider taking in each one of their godchildren as part of their family until I come back from the service. And absolutely, they said, "You don't have to worry about that part. You take care of yourself." I had to register for the draft because my birthday was January the 9th of 1925. So I turned 18 and you had to sign up. But I informed them that I was ready to go. The family's physician was one of the examining doctors. And he was interested in knowing what I was doing there. He knew that I was the support of the family. And he didn't know that I had made arrangements with all of the godparents. And so he said, "What's going to happen to the brothers?" I told him. And he was shaking his head, and he said, "Well, I'm going to reject you. You've got flat feet." So he rejected me. I went down to the draft board again and told them, "Hey, there's something screwy. I'm perfectly fine." Finally got a letter, go down. I was examined and accepted, and like I say, went into the service on the 6th of March of 1943. The first 17 months in the service, I was in the Air Corps. And I eventually was in a band. I had auditioned for being a musician before entering the service. And I was stationed in Venice, Florida, for the morale of the country and the service and the troops. I just never did quite feel as though I was doing my thing. Take the opportunity to train and go overseas as a replacement. I felt more complete. I honestly felt that, okay, I did my part. Assigned to an armored car. I was the driver of a 3-man crew. The crew consisted also of a gunner and of a radio man. Showed me the armored car, armored driver, here's the key. I received no instructions on operating, so you get in and you play around with the gears and so on and so forth. So I remember right off the bat, the first thing I do was I put the armored car into a ditch, and I'm looking skyward. Many of our tanks had winches, so I stopped one of the tanks, told them to pull me out, asked for somebody to give me a little instruction, and you learn as you keep going. And our basic responsibility is we had a powerful radio unit, receiving and sending, we would get messages from our soldiers in the field and be able to transmit those to command post. One of the things that's interesting to note is that our particular little crew replaced a crew that had taken a direct hit, and all 3 men were killed. And what we did is we drove around to try to get in better positions to receive messages that we were getting and being able to send them. And sometimes that meant you exposed yourself more so than you would maybe should. However, it worked, and we got through the entire war without getting a hit, thank God. We drove, and one day we covered 90 road miles in one day. That was a record. When you're in combat and you're still advancing that far, that's quite an accomplishment. I know that our particular company actually covered 106 miles that day, but it was interesting. The 83rd Reconnaissance Battalion that I was part of was also at the point. They crossed the Ruhr River, and to our left was General Patton with his army, and we formed a V and captured 300,000 German troops. That's a lot of people. But one must remember that after the Battle of the Bulge, basically the German army was giving up. But don't for one moment think that the war was over, because you still had your SS troopers that were pushing, and we battled all the way up. I was involved in the Battle of Paderborn, and that was no picnic. That was no picnic. Liberation of the concentration camp. That's something that forever is right here. That's up there, and we liberated this camp just at about noontime. And we had, being in a armored car, we had C rations and K rations that we were able to carry around. But we were explicitly told, do not, again, emphatically, do not feed the people. You will probably do more harm than good. We will make arrangements to feed them and such. And many died just from the exhilaration of being liberated. Another one of the things that we did is we liberated a concentration labor camp at Nordhausen. And that is something that an individual will carry to his death. I bought into the fact that the guy had to be stopped, and I was willing to do my share, my part, whatever it was, however little. They considered themselves super people. They were better physically, mentally, than their brother German, okay, who was not. And they were totally committed to success. And it was a known fact that many of them shot and killed their own other soldiers who were not willing to fight. That's crazy. So one particular town, we were given information in advance. Be very careful. Many families a lot of SS troopers came out of families from this small town. It was a town maybe of about, 4,000 or 5,000 people. So I entered a room, and civilians in there, and I noticed one particular man who should have been in uniform. He was a man, I'd say, maybe 30-ish. And so I, as best with whatever little German I had learned, I tried to say, do you have any guns, any knives, anything? And he started laughing at me. And the word to shoot or to excrete are very similar. One is scheissen, the other is schiessen. And I used the wrong word in trying to explain to him what I would do if he didn't respond to the questions I was asking. The company commander, a headquarters company of the 3rd Armored Division, our commanding, the commander of the company was a Captain Kelly. Well, Kelly had 2 pearl-handled .38s. He didn't carry the standard. I guess he was trying to play Patton. And we would be given orders to advance to a specific point. So let's take the city here, our immediate area. We would be told, advance to Wesleyville. And at Wesleyville, hold. Kelly would always say, no, I think we can go as far as Lawrence Park. So he would always be pushing us, always forward, always forward. One particular day, I'll share this. It was a small town, and it had a chevron-shaped main road with houses on both sides. So we had been told to stop before this place. But then Kelly told us, no, let's go. So we were, the division, our particular tanks and such were going down the Chevron Road. And all of a sudden, windows, second floor windows, just opened up. And fortunately, they stuck out white flags. It could have been guns just as easy. Things of that nature make you think that, okay, you do have a time when you're brought on this earth as to when you leave. And it wasn't our time, because very easily it could have been German troops hidden in those, and they were at an advantage because it would have been all over for a number of guys. You know, you do things to stay alive. You do what you have to do. And I'm sure the same thing applies for the enemy. There are things that I'll take to my grave. I don't care to express them. I don't even talk to my brothers about it. And we're still very close. In fact, 2 of my brothers live in California and 1 lives in Colorado. I'm the only one that stayed home, stayed in Erie. And we talk weekly on the telephone. But yet, you know, those are things that will stay within. I'm very proud of the serving with the 3rd Armored Division. Our Major General was a gentleman by the name of Maurice Rose. He was a Major General, and he was killed late in the war. He was killed, I think, either in late March or early April of 1945. And oddly enough, the commanding officer of the 83rd Reconnaissance Battalion was killed at approximately the same time. These were guys that were in the front. They weren't guys, their method of leading was not sitting back and giving orders, but they were right out there, follow me type thing. And you honor, and I pray for them every day, every night. Yeah.
Once he had bombed Pearl Harbor, he turned to one of his aides. He says, I fear we have awakened a sleeping giant, which is exactly what they did do with that bombing.
You're always afraid, but then your adrenaline takes over and away you go.
So there were 4 of us in there, and that's where my parents just probably didn't know what was going on.
back?
All of us. Yep.
The submarines were attacked by Germans dropping depth charges and so on. But we overcame that.
You know, the first time I got any thanks for doing that is from a Filipino, actually, that came over here. He came to see me and he thanked me. That was the first time I got any thanks at all.
Got two choices. Either you go forward or you retreat. And he said, I never retreat. And Patton, as you know, never lost a battle.
I don't know, the experience, it was just something between the kamikazes, I think, were the worst. Subs, they bothered us a little bit, but not much. But it was an experience out of school that I'll remember forever. And I think I did a little part for the country. I think I did.
We had a good outfit. We had a young, well-educated combat outfit.
Our country is worth fighting for. Without people like us and generations after us, if we don't protect it, somebody else will take it.
Those veterans that experienced that, not just the Holocaust survivors of those camps, but those that went there and liberated those folks, can pass on that atrocity to us, and how that hopefully it will never happen again.
On submarines today. In fact, they're a distinct bunch as far as I'm concerned. And the Navy is part of my life, but basically the submarine part is the best. And because you had a different group of men.
And Germany had to be stopped. That Nazi party was too strong, and what we did to stop them was the right thing to do.
That war went on for so long, and being in both theaters, the Europe and the Pacific, there was, well, we lost 410,000 soldiers alone, and that's a lot of people.
We did lose a couple. Well, one of them was hit by anti-aircraft, and I lost a good friend. Leonard Seek was a fellow that I went through all through the radar school, and it's tough to lose friends, but then that's war, I guess.
WICU and its partners are proud to bring you Erie's greatest generation remembers.